Alright, what's up guys, got another video of what if Anakin Skywalker was betrayed by Padme and the Jedi. But if you like this type of content, then be sure to subscribe for more what if / fanfics, lore, comics, reviews, and video essays, and just all things Star Wars. But with all that out of the way, why don't we just dive right on in. So the story starts during the Clone Wars. Rush Clovis had come back into Padme's life. He was an old flame from her past, and Anakin didn't like that. He didn't trust Rush. He saw him as a weasel, someone trying to take his wife from him, and he wouldn't stand for that. Not one bit. Padme didn't see anything wrong with this, but Anakin's emotions got the better of him. After walking in on Rush and Padme, he saw his wife kissing another man. In that moment, rage took over Anakin. He began losing all rational thought. "Get away from my wife," Skywalker yelled. Clovis hadn't expected this. He figured Anakin had a little crush on Padme, but not to be married to her. Rush smiled and spoke. "Well, Skywalker, looks like your wife loves me more than she does you." Padme looked at Anakin and turned her head. She could see the hurt in his eyes. His heart had been shattered into a million pieces. Anakin staggered. Padme, why? We were supposed to be together forever." His wife didn't respond, simply looking away as Rush pulled her in closer, creating a tight embrace. Rush smirked. "Well, seems like she made her choice, Boy Scout." Anakin's anger continued to rise until he snapped. He used the Force to pick up Rush and slam him against the wall. He began choking him and ignited his lightsaber. Padme tried to intervene. "Annie, please, this isn't what it looks like." Her pleads fell on deaf ears. Anakin pushed her out of the way and began choking the life out of Rush. He brought a saber towards the man's throat and whispered in his ear, It would be so easy to kill you right now. You're nothing but a weak, pathetic fool. You are nothing." Padme had learned that Rush might have been working with the Separatists, so she created a ruse in order to get close to him to find out the truth. But seeing Anakin like this, it scared her. Padme yelled, "Anakin, please, you don't understand. It was all just a plan to find out if he was working with the Separatists." But it was too late. Skywalker impaled Clovis with his lightsaber, killing him instantly. His body dropped to the floor, and Padme looked in horror to see what her husband just did. Anakin was brought back to his senses and looked at what he had just did. He turned to Padme and reached out a hand for her, but she backed away in fear. Anakin looked shocked. He looked down at Rush's corpse and then at his scared wife. Skywalker turned towards Amidala, but she yelled at him to stay back. When Anakin looked at her face, all he could see was fear and disgust. This broke him to his very core. Padme was the reason. His reason for even breathing. He loved her more than life itself, and to see her scared of him crushed his soul. Anakin looked up and saw that his lightsaber was still ignited. He deignited the blade, and the look on Padme's face said all he needed to know. Anakin walked out, leaving Padme with Rush's corpse. He didn't know where to go. He couldn't go back to their apartment, so Anakin went to the only place other than Padme that felt like home. He returned to the Jedi Temple, and as he entered his room, he fell face first onto his bed. Anakin turned around, his head laying on the pillow as he stared into the ceiling. All he could remember was Padme's look of disgust that was written all over her face. Skywalker didn't want to think about it anymore, so he turned over and fell asleep. Anakin woke up hours later to a knock at his door. He groggily awoke and told him to enter. Obi-Wan walked inside with Ahsoka by his side. Both had a sad gaze written across their face. The Chosen One was confused and asked if they were alright, but Kenobi simply told Anakin to follow him to the council chambers. Skywalker wondered what this could be about, and came to the conclusion that it couldn't be about Rush. Padme wouldn't do that to him, right? But as he walked into the council chambers, his fears were made a reality. There he saw Padme with other members of the Senate standing by the council members. Anakin couldn't look his wife in the eyes and simply walked forward alongside Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. Once he reached the center, he stopped and looked around. All eyes were on him. Mace Windu spoke up. "Young Skywalker, we've convened as a council and have brought you here after learning some disturbing news." Padme stepped forward. "I have brought it to the attention of the Jedi and the Senate. The Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker murdered Senator Rush Clovis of Scipio in cold blood." A look of shock came across Anakin's face, and he looked around to see everyone giving him a hateful or disappointed glance. Yoda spoke up. "Disturbing and saddened to hear this news we are." Padme spoke again. "I would also like to inform the council of my marriage to Anakin Skywalker." The Chosen One froze in his place. His eyes darted around the room, and a look of shock appeared over the council's faces. Mace Windu spoke. "I knew you couldn't be trusted, Skywalker." The council told Anakin to leave so they could convene, and after coming back after about 20 minutes, Mace continued. "For breaking the Jedi Code, you are hereby expelled from the Jedi Order." Ki-Adi-Mundi spoke next. "And for the murder of Senator Rush Clovis, you will be placed into custody under the authority of the Galactic Republic." Anakin just stood there, not saying a word. He looked to Obi-Wan, to Ahsoka, to anyone to help him, but they just turned their heads towards him. He looked to Padme and she looked away. He smirked. Of course, everyone's life was turning his back on him. His whole life was like this. The moment he gained something, it was ripped from his hands. Jedi temple guards entered, planning to take Anakin to a jail cell, but he would rather die than be locked up and wither away. Skywalker looked around, and it was now or never. He used a massive force push that sent the temple guards flying back, and then ignited his saber, sparking up the floor, causing dust and debris to go everywhere, creating a dust cloud. This caught the Jedi and senators off guard, and Anakin rushed forward through the dust cloud and in a split second looked at Padme, who stared back at him. Anakin dove out the window in the streets of Coruscant below. While falling, he saw a speeder approaching and jumped on, tossing the person who was driving out, falling to their death. Anakin looked down and realized he just killed someone else, but as he began to speed away, he looked up to see Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Padme, and the rest of the council looking down on him. As Anakin flew through the streets of Coruscant, his mind wandered. What was he supposed to do now? He thought about the people he killed, and he quickly learned that he didn't care. They were in his way, so if they died, it didn't matter to him. This caused Anakin to realize that maybe the dark side wasn't such a bad thing. Maybe it could get you what you truly wanted, but what he lost, he would never regain. He was no longer a Jedi, and what Padme did to him, he still loved her, but his wife betrayed him. Not just his wife, but everyone betrayed him. The Jedi cast him out. Ahsoka and Obi-Wan didn't even attempt to help. They just stood there and watched. Anakin tried to think, maybe there is one person who could still help him. Anakin changed directions and headed to the Chancellor's office. Once he arrived, Skywalker snuck in and made it to Palpatine's office. He entered and the Chancellor spoke. "Ah, Anakin, my boy, what can I help you with?" The Chosen One was hesitant. You must know what has happened, do you not?" Palpatine responded. "Of course I do, my boy. It was only a matter of time before something like this happened. I've been expecting your arrival." Anakin looked shocked. How could Palpatine have predicted this, he thought. Palpatine continued on, telling Anakin that the Jedi were always going to betray him, and that Padme never truly loved him. She just used him for her own benefit. Anakin realized Palpatine knew and saw through everything, and the Chancellor smirked. This was his chance. He told Anakin about the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. He furthered it by adding that there are more aspects to the Force than just being a Jedi, and that's when Palpatine reveals that he's the Sith Lord. But instead of feeling apprehensive, Anakin simply smiled. If he couldn't be a Jedi or be with Padme, then he would strive for power, to become the strongest in the galaxy, and the way to accomplish that was the Sith and the dark side. Palpatine saw Anakin smile, and Skywalker then kneeled before his new master, with Palpatine naming him Darth Vader. The apprentice bowed before his new master, and Darth Sidious smiled. The plan to wipe out the Jedi and create the Empire was going to work. A year passed, and Palpatine secretly trained Anakin in the ways of the dark side. He taught him many Force techniques such as Force Lightning and Force Drain. Anakin grew immensely powerful, and Palpatine wanted to keep his prized possession from Dooku and Grievous. They were mere pawns, but Vader, he was the future. Anakin embraced the role of Darth Vader, and throughout this year, Palpatine sent him on various secret missions, one of the most important being to kill his first Jedi and take their lightsaber, blending it as his own. Vader found Jedi Master Ki-Adi-Mundi, and after a grueling fight, Vader killed him and took his saber as his own. Palpatine then sent Vader to Mandalore to go finish off Maul and Savage. It was another brutal fight, but after Anakin managed to kill Savage, he was able to get the upper hand on Maul, and instead of sparing him, he decapitated Palpatine's former apprentice. But Obi-Wan was also in Mandalore, and after losing Satine, he was distraught. But throughout the chaos and fight with Maul, Obi-Wan saw Anakin with a red saber, and the two just looked at each other as Anakin made his escape. The last year had been hell for Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Padme. His master and apprentice desperately searched for him across the galaxy after he'd gone missing. Every lead, every clue they hoped would lead them to Anakin, but they found nothing. Anakin had become a ghost. That wasn't until Mandalore when he was sighted. Padme had become depressed. She reacted to her husband as if he was a monster, but after Rush was revealed to have actually been involved with the Separatists, she regretted her actions. She missed Anakin and wanted to see him again. He was the love of her life after all, but the events of Revenge of the Sith came to play and the Siege of Coruscant happens. Palpatine is kidnapped and Mace Windu and Kit Fisto are sent to go and rescue him. They board the Invisible Hand and Count Dooku is killed by Windu. Later on, Palpatine reveals that Grievous is on Utapau and Shaak Ti is sent to go and finish off the droid general. During this time, the Jedi Council, or what's left of them on Coruscant, confront Palpatine to have him give up his emergency powers, but the Chancellor had been expecting this, and when Kit Fisto, Mace Windu, Saesee Tiin, and Agen Kolar entered, they didn't expect Palpatine to be a Sith Lord. Sidious uses the surprise and confusion and quickly cuts down Kolar and Tiin, and that's when Vader emerges from the shadows, shocking Fisto and Windu. Anakin ignited his Crimson Saber and Windu grimaced. He knew Skywalker wasn't to be trusted, that's why they kicked him out of the Order. If he was a Sith, then he would die ally with the Sith. Skywalker lunged forward and engaged in a duel with Fisto, green saber against blue saber, while Sidious dueled Windu. Anakin was able to get the upper hand by overpowering Kit Fisto and then cutting him in half. He then joined his master to take on Windu. The Master of the Order was using everything he had, and with a pod he was able to put up a good fight, but Mace was eventually overpowered and Anakin cut off both of his hands. Sidious then electrocuted him with Force lightning, and while writhing in pain, Mace Windu looked up to Anakin. "I was right. You always were a failure." Anakin, no. Vader had enough of this and finished off Mace Windu by cutting his head off. After the death of the council members, Vader kneeled before Sidious, who executed Order 66. Shocked he was able to kill Grievous but died during Order 66. Obi-Wan was still in Coruscant and was visiting Padme to talk about his encounter with Anakin. They hadn't seen each other in a while, but they still saw each other as friends, and after the deaths of Satine, Obi-Wan understood what Padme was going through with the disappearance of Anakin. They talked about how he could have fallen to the dark side, but that's when Obi-Wan felt the pain and death of thousands of Jedi across the galaxy. He grabbed his chest and fell to the ground, and Padme ran to his side, and while in pain he just spoke one word: Anakin. His apprentice must somehow be involved in this. Once the pain subsided, Obi-Wan came to his senses, but it was too late. Someone entered Padme's apartment. But before this, Sidious ordered for Vader to storm the Jedi Temple with the clones and kill every Jedi in sight. Vader obeyed, and with a cloak and Sith-colored eyes, he led a legion of clones up the steps, butchering any Jedi in sight. But when Vader entered a room full of younglings, he saw a familiar face in the form of Ahsoka guarding them. In this timeline, Ahsoka was never framed for the Jedi Temple bombing, and so she stayed in the Order, but she just looked at her master and spoke. "Master, please, please, please don't do this. Come back to the light. Come back to the Jedi. Return to being my master, please." Her pleads fell on deaf ears as Vader walked closer without saying a word. Crimson saber ignited. A tear fell down Ahsoka's face as she understood her master had made his choice. She ignited her twin blades and launched towards Vader, who blocked each strike with ease, and she quickly realized just how outmatched she truly was. And as fast as the duel began, it ended with Vader plunging a saber down Ahsoka's throat, killing her instantly. After slaughtering all the Jedi in the temple, Vader informed his master that he was going to face his former master and wife, and Sidious smiled at this, allowing Vader to do this. Vader made his way to Padme's apartment and entered, seeing Obi-Wan and his wife inside. Vader just looked at them with yellow eyes and ignited his blade. Obi-Wan told Padme to run, and Vader launched towards his former master, who blocked each strike. This battle was much closer than Vader thought it would be. Obi-Wan blocked each strike with perfection, using Form 3, and Vader had expected this, so he utilized Force Drain to wither down Kenobi during the fight until he became too weak and tired to keep up. This worked, and Vader proceeded to cut off Kenobi's legs, watching his torso fall to the floor and then proceeding to gut his master and watch the light drain from his eyes. Obi-Wan's last words were, "I'm sorry, Anakin." Vader paid no mind as he walked through the apartment to Padme's bedroom, or what used to be their bedroom. As he walked in, watching his wife cower in fear, his mind wandered. She still looked so beautiful, he thought. He loved her just as much as the day they first met. Padme begged, "Please, please, Annie, come back to me. I'm sorry. I was wrong. We can be together again. We can be a family." Vader walked closer and whispered to Padme, "Anakin is gone. I am what remains. But know that I will love you always." Padme felt the lightsaber through her stomach as she looked at Vader in shock as she fell to the floor with Vader catching her. A tear fell down his face as he held his dying wife, and with her last breath she spoke. "I'm sorry for everything, Annie. Know that even in death, I will love you forever." Vader watched his wife die and then proceeded to carry her body out of the apartment, walking past what was left of Obi-Wan and making his way towards his starship. Vader launched into hyperspace and headed to Tatooine. Once he landed, he saw the Lars family watching him carry Padme's corpse out of the ship. He walked past them and buried his wife next to his mother, and after Padme was buried, he fell to the floor and let out his anger. Why did you make me do this? This was you, not me." Tears fell down the Chosen One's face, and he realized now he had nothing left. He killed everyone for what? Power, strength. And then he realized all along that Palpatine was worse than him. Worse than the Jedi. Anakin received his next orders after Sidious dueled Yoda, and he headed to Mustafar. After killing the Separatist Council, Vader waited for his master to arrive. Once Sidious arrived, he congratulated his student. But that's when Vader ignited his saber, launching forward, killing the clone bodyguards. Sidious smiled and spoke. "So you are trying to betray me. I will put you in your place, boy." Sidious ignited his crimson blade and launched towards Vader with the Sith Scream. The battle was intense and the hardest Vader had ever fought. Sidious's speed was unmatched and he switched between each lightsaber form to throw off Vader, but the Chosen One understood his master's movements. He was getting stronger during the fight while Sidious was still tired from dueling Yoda. The Chancellor realized he was losing, so he jumped back and launched a blast of Force Lightning. Vader responded with a blast of his own. The two torrents of electricity crashed against one another. Sidious cackled, saying, "The Jedi were right. You are nothing but a failure, a tool to gain me more power." Vader grimaced and unleashed everything he had and began to overpower Sidious as the lightning crashed into him, rocketing him to the lava bank below. Lightning coursed through the Sith Lord's body as he begged Vader to save him, but the Chosen One just looked at his master and kicked him into the lava below, watching him burn to death, all the while Sidious cackled towards its doom. After the death of Palpatine, Vader understood what he was supposed to do now. He traveled back to Coruscant and into the Senate, where he revealed himself as the newly created Emperor's heir. He told them Palpatine was dead, so that made him the new Emperor. Vader revealed evidence that backed up his statements, and the Senate could do nothing as Vader rose to the title of Emperor of the Galaxy. As Emperor, Vader kept the clones as the main army of the Empire. He ruled with an iron fist, crushing any signs of rebellion before they even began. Any who opposed him were wiped out. Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and any other politician who opposed him were executed. Vader never created the Inquisitors, instead hunting every remaining Jedi himself as a sort of sport. He eventually found Yoda and Dagobah, and the two Jedi had a brief battle, but Vader had unlocked his full potential and eventually overpowered and killed Yoda, and after a number of years the Jedi had become all but extinct until Vader was the only dominant Force user in the galaxy. Anakin was dead, and everything and everyone that knew Anakin was also dead. The only thing that remained was Lord Vader, Emperor of the Galaxy. Alright, and that's the story. So I was kind of thinking, I was taking a shit, right? And I was thinking of what story to write next, and I kind of wanted to do a betrayed story. I remember all those Dragon Ball videos about Goku getting betrayed by everyone, and I kind of wanted that to happen to Anakin. But I also wanted to be like the main aspect of Padme and Anakin, like the relationship at the forefront, and that's like how the beginning ended up, and how, you know, Anakin ended up killing Padme. I definitely fuck with that scene. That was definitely kind of tragic to write. I kind of skipped over a lot of the fights. I could have gone way more in depth with them, but this video would have definitely been like 45 minutes to an hour long if that were to happen, because I just kind of wanted to get them out of the way as they weren't really the main aspect of the story. But if you see in the background of this video, I got some gameplay. Again, it's just, I got work early as fuck tomorrow and I wanted to get this video out. So, you know, just kind of got lazy with the editing. But overall, I enjoyed writing it, and if you enjoyed the video, then be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see a video or a short done, you can donate to the Cash App, which will be linked down below. And if you want to see more from me, go check out my other channels. But if you like Star Wars content, then be sure to stick around for more. But with all that out of the way, I will see you all in the next one. Peace.